what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it. Matthew Brune covers LSU for On 3 Bengal Tiger. Does a really good job there, but he's obviously been at every LSU practice, right? We unfortunately can't go because of the timing of the show. And when you look, and this is a camp that Brian Kelly's actually, been very open with the media, way more so than anybody else that I've ever seen in this position in terms of fully open practices, getting to talk to coordinators, all this stuff. What I'm saying is Matthew's covered this team very in depth, and he has 5 2024 camp takeaways that I want to chew on a bit here. His first takeaway, LSU's defensive line is in a much better spot than expected. And he basically goes on to say that, look, the defensive tackles do not feel like the complete liabilities that we painted them to be. And it's not to say that they will be great, but that they are fine, right? And this is something, remember, that Brian Kelly stumped for pretty hard as well. Even to the point where, we're talking about SEC media days, and I just asked very open-ended, like, hey, what's the position group that you're feeling like good about, blah, blah. And he went out of his way to be like, I'm telling you, the D-line is not what you think it is, right? But Brune expands on this, saying, look, the D tackles are fine. The D ends could be a strength. And that does become interesting. Are we guilty of maybe underrating this so much that we're missing maybe one of the hidden strengths of this LSU team? When you're talking about Savion Jones, Braden Swinson, Paris Shand, Deshaun Womack, guys that already flashed in a scheme that was not very good last year. Like maybe these DNs are a group that we look up and we say, okay, no, they're not just not a weakness, but like they're actually one of the better parts of this team.
When I went out there on Friday, again, that was probably the position group that I was going to watch, closely throughout the practice, probably with the biggest magnifying glass. And there was, multiple guys. You mentioned Shand, you mentioned Savion Jones. Like they are going to be someone that you feel good about holding point, right? So I don't feel like in the run game, I feel like you got a couple of really strong edge defenders that are going to be okay. And like they didn't have one-on-ones or anything that day, so I didn't get a chance to see any rush moves or anything. But like you feel good about that. But the question is still going to be on third down, who gets to the quarterback? Yeah, because you're going to have your opportunity, all right? They are game planning for number 7. The protection is going to, right, wrong, or indifferent, right? It's going to go to number 7. That's going to free you up. They are not going to send extra bodies to whoever that edge defender ends up being. They're going to slide it to 7. They're going to send the offensive line, the Mike declare to 7. They're not going to put him on a running back. All of those things. Well, what does that do? That opens you up for one-on-one battles. Yeah. And you should go out there and be successful in those. That's what you dream of. As an edge rusher, if I don't see a back or if I don't see a tight end to my side or if I don't hear the quarterback call, the mic in which I know I'm going to have 3 offensive linemen for 2 D linemen, man, I got to lick my chops and feast when that happens. And that's going to happen, again, right, wrong, or indifferent. Like sometimes they're going to point out Harold Perkins, number 7, and it's going to be to the detriment of the protection, but they're going to do it because they've been coached all week to do it. Can you go win your individual matchup?
And, look, I think Swinson is somebody who already put up great pressure numbers last year. He could be one of those guys. Brune does mention specifically Savion Jones really starting to win a lot of one-on-ones against guys like Emory Jones. So we will see. But yeah, the overall takeaway there I think is a very important one. Then look, the D-line, not saying they're going to be great or the best, but maybe not just this glaring Achilles heel that we thought of throughout this offseason. So, Matthew's first point, the LSU line, and much better than probably thought. His second point, the defense should have a clear identity. Now, I thought his write-up here was a bit interesting because he didn't really go into explaining what that identity was schematically. So that remains to be seen. Is this a team that's going to be stronger against the run, stronger in getting after the quarterback? What he more speaks to is how in this camp compared to last, how much more lockstep the players and the staff appear to be, and that generally, if he does get an idea of identity, it's that it'll be a more aggressive, dictating, take the initiative style that Blake Baker ran at Mizzou, that Blake Baker's personality is representative of, and not as read and reactive as what you were trying to do last year?
There was a feel, there was a juice to the practice that I had a chance to go to over the weekend. It ain't the same. Now, again, like we have to see that translate to the field, but I can just tell you the energy levels of the defensive staff compared to when you and I would go to practice last year. I mean, this man, Blake Baker, our guy, wears cleats to practice.
Yeah, Harbaugh does too. I mean, he's one natty.
Does not stop moving, does not stop coaching. Bo Diddley, Bo Davis, multiple times. And the thing that I love about it, it's not just constant. Like, we've all played on teams where the coaches are just constant, like, for no reason. Like, okay, we get it. Clap and cuss, clap. It's not that. But the little things are going to be done right. I forget what it's like, a uniform deal, like a knee brace, and the player didn't have the knee brace on, and they kept taking it on and off between reps, and Bo just let them know that was not going to be how things were going to be done.
Yeah.
Because, like, they weren't ready for a rep and like all those little bitty things and not letting stuff like that slide, but also coaching and not just cussing to cuss. Those are things that you were missing, and it seems like, why does that matter? But if you've been a part of a team, it could be high school level, doesn't matter. You know why things like that are important.
All right, number 3 on Matthew's list, summer enrollee freshman living up to the hype. And
I can tell you one that will.
Who's that?
A freshman that will live up to it is Trey Green.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. So he looked.
That's
good
the first time I've got eyes on him.
Yeah, he a big kid.
Oh my God.
Really?
Yes. He was running like
5-star.
He was running like, well, walk on Scott 18. He was running whip routes like a receiver. You know what I mean? Like smoothness of it. And he's got a little bit more weight to him, a little bit more girth than I thought he would. Like I just assumed he was going to be just a skinny tight end and a basketball player out there, and I was surprised. Now he's not as big as Pimpton is. I mean, he's a giant, but I was so impressed with the tight end room is super thin. I mean, you got 3 guys. You can't have a major injury, I don't think. But if they stay healthy, it could be the most important group on the team, like outside of the obvious, the quarterback.
So he starts with Trey Green, obviously, in making this point. Then he goes to Weston Davis, which is a name that we haven't mentioned much here, Jake. Weston, another 5-star guy, tackle. Already on the 2 deep, as a true freshman, which is very tough to do. And when you look at the lineage that LSU is trying to establish on the offensive line, Weston Davis, Tyree Adams, like these are going to be like the next guys up. I was talking this weekend with some friends, and they were kind of asking, like, what do you think about, like, next year, once you get into – because LSU's going to lose basically their whole line. And I'm like, well, look, there will be a step back because it's kind of like you said with Braden Fisk and Jared Verse. How could there not be? But in the same way, I still feel, like, good about them being good because of Brad Davis and because of the pipeline that's being established and because of what you're seeing out of young players like Adams and Weston Davis. And then he goes on to mention Caden Dern, Dominic Kinley, Juwan Johnson, Michael Turner, Kylan Biot, Jelani Watkins as all guys who, how they will contribute this season is maybe still up in the air, but that they all had stronger showings than freshmen typically do at camp. And then the final point is that LSU's offense could be extremely versatile / unique. And that's one thing that I'm, again, fascinated to see is what's going to be the identity of this offense in a post-Jaden Daniels age. Is it counter? How effective can this rushing attack be? If it's not hitting early on, will you stick with it? Will you freak out and go fully on Garrett? We'll have to see.
There's going to be opportunities to be way more diverse in the run game than you were a year ago. And again, that's not throwing shade at last year. You didn't have to. You had the unicorn at quarterback that could do it all. I mean, ran for 1,000 yards, won the Heisman Trophy. We all know that. But, like, if you go back and you watch the Georgia Tech game like we talked about to start this show, you can do all of those things and then some.
Yeah.
Because your best group in the totality of the group is your offensive line. You've got running backs that are all different that can fit to different schemes. Use that group. Lean on that group. We know Mason Taylor can be a great blocking tight end as a Y as well. He's a willing blocker. Lean on that group, and that will take you to the promised land.
Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.